You coined the terms big science
Right,
and technological fix.
right.
Uh, can you think back and kind of describe to us how those terms came
Well,
to
big
be?
science came to be because I wrote an article a long time ago. It was published in Science magazine. I call it The Impact of Large-Scale Research on, on Science. And I had to have a name for large-scale research, so I said, well, big science. And that's how that came about. And it caught on. As far as technological fix is concerned, again, I am first and foremost a technologist, and I was intrigued by the idea, illustrated by the effort we had on desalting, that a technological advance can make have big social consequences. And so I coined the word technological fix. It turned out later that I learned that the idea of the technological fix was not original with Alvin Weinberg. There's a fellow by the name of Dick Meyer, a professor of everything at University of California, who had written a book about this. Yeah.
You also coined the term a Faustian bargain.
Well, that was simply that I wrote an article called Social Implications of Nuclear Energy or something like that. And what I said was that nuclear energy is special, as we see now, proliferation, waste disposal, radioactivity. I always quoted Fermi, who in 1944 told us, look, this is a great new energy source that we're creating, but there is no a priori reason to believe that the public will accept a new energy source that's encumbered by huge amounts of radioactivity and that has a possibility of proliferation. I will never forget that. In a certain sense, if I examine what my career has been all about, it's been to prove that Fermi was unduly pessimistic, because, you know, nuclear energy does account for something like 20% of the world's electricity now.
That's true.
And that's pretty good. And I realized further that, and this is turning out to be a very important element in the whole picture, but one that I will not be around to enjoy, that nuclear reactors in the United States are turning out to last much longer than they were supposed to.
That's true.
When I was born, my life expectancy was about 60 odd years.
Yes.
I'm going on my 88th year, which means that I've outlived my life expectancy. In the same way, the nuclear reactors are turning out, in the United States at least, to be outliving their licensing period. And so you then ask, well, when will that stop? There are estimates by Chairman Meserve of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission that all the reactors in the United States, that's about 100 reactors,
Yes.
will apply for relicensing 20 more years. And then you ask what's going to happen at the end of those 20 years. Why won't they just continue to be relicensed? And if you have a reactor that has already been paid for, then the power from the reactor will in fact be very, very cheap.
It's all
so
gravy at that point.
that's right. And so the old idea voiced by Lewis Strauss that nuclear energy will be too cheap to meter, that could actually happen in the next generation or the generation after that. And I wrote a paper which I believe is as important a paper as I've ever written, called Immortal Reactors and Intergenerational Justice. And the idea was that some philosophers had got together and they said, what right does this generation have to foist on future generations for all time the the disadvantages of nuclear energy. And what I say is that they earn that right because in the far future, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 years, nuclear energy clearly will be the cheapest energy there is.
True.
And that this is what we compensate the future generations for their promise to be careful.